Most people have no idea that right now, while the average American family spends over $15,000 a year on groceries, the Amish quietly feed larger families for less than $4,000, and they do it without coupons, without Costco, and without deep freezers stacked to the ceiling. While society keeps chasing convenience, the Amish have mastered something far more powerful: efficiency and control. They can feed 10 people on what most households spend feeding 2. So here's the question: what do they know that the rest of the world has forgotten? Stay with us, because once you understand how the Amish cook, shop, preserve, and stretch their food, you'll never look at your kitchen or your grocery bill the same way again. One fuel cooking step into an Amish kitchen on a cold morning, and the first thing you notice is heat. Not just from an oven, but from the heart of their home: the wood-fired cook stove. Unlike modern kitchens packed with gadgets, microwaves, slow cookers, air fryers, electric ovens, all pulling electricity and consuming energy separately, the Amish use one fuel source to do everything. That same stove boils broth on its hottest rings, simmers soups on the lower heat zones, dries herbs on the racks above, and warms rising bread dough near the edge. It even heats the house. While Americans spend nearly $300 a month on energy to cook and refrigerate food, the Amish cut that cost down to around $350 to $400 a year. The magic isn't just in the wood, it's in the planning. Meals are chosen based on how the stove is burning that day. If the fire is strong, they bake. If it's low, they simmer. There's no wasted heat and no wasted purpose. Cooking becomes an orchestrated routine, efficient, intentional, and connected to the rhythms of the home. It's not primitive, it's extraordinarily strategic. In the modern world, we purchase convenience only to become dependent on it. The Amish master efficiency by mastering restraint. They don't need 10 appliances to cook 10 things. They need one heat source and deep knowledge of how to use it. Seasonal thinking. Most modern households have been conditioned to expect strawberries in December and tomatoes flown halfway across the world, paying premium prices without ever thinking about how unnatural that system has become. The Amish reject that mindset entirely. Their food economy revolves around one simple principle: eat what the land is currently producing. Instead of demanding that the world bend to their cravings, they adapt their meals to nature's calendar. If cucumbers are abundant, they pickle. If apples are in season, pies and cider appear. If winter brings root vegetables, soups and stews dominate. As a result, 70 to 80% of their meals come from food grown steps, not miles, from their kitchen door. Where the average American meal travels 1,500 miles, Amish food travels a matter of yards, reducing cost, fuel, and waste. Eating seasonally forces creativity. Recipes change not because a website suggested it, but because the land shifted into the next phase of its cycle. And that shift transforms budgets. While the average American family spends roughly $15,000 a year on food, the Amish feed larger households for around $4,000, not because they sacrifice quality, but because they let nature dictate the menu. Their gardens aren't just pretty, they're strategic. They grow enough to eat now, preserve enough to survive the winter, and waste virtually nothing. In a world where convenience has disconnected us from our food source, the Amish remind us: the cheapest and healthiest food is the food that comes from your own soil, in its own time. Fermentation instead of refrigeration. While modern homes rely on refrigerators and freezers humming 24/7, Amish households often preserve food without electricity at all. Their secret weapon is fermentation, an ancient, scientific, nearly magical process that transforms perishables into shelf-stable nutrition. Vegetables that would spoil become sauerkraut or fermented pickles that last 6 to 8 months without refrigeration. 1 gallon of milk becomes yogurt, klabber, kefir, or cheese, stretching its lifespan from days to weeks. Fruit becomes preserved beverages rich in natural probiotics. Their fermentation isn't trendy, it's survival wisdom passed down through generations. A sourdough starter can live for decades, producing hundreds of loaves from nothing more than flour and water. They don't buy yeast, they grow it. They don't buy yogurt, they culture it. And while Americans throw away food because it expired before they got around to using it, the Amish extend the life of every ingredient. These practices save roughly $600 to $800 a year, while simultaneously creating healthier, more nutrient-dense food. Fermentation removes the beeping dependence on electricity. It removes packaging. It removes waste. It turns fragility into endurance. In a world terrified of spoilage, the Amish embrace transformation. The perpetual soup pot. In the average American home, leftovers are seen as a burden, containers shoved into the back of the fridge, forgotten, and eventually scraped into the trash. But Amish kitchens operate differently. At the center of the home, usually on a wood-fired stove, sits what they call the perpetual soup pot. It is never fully emptied, never washed and returned to storage. Instead, the broth becomes a living foundation, deepening in flavor over hours, days, sometimes even weeks. When a meal is prepared, vegetable peels, onion ends, leftover meat trimmings, and yesterday's unused pieces are added. Instead of throwing away nutrient-rich scraps, the Amish transform them into nourishment. Nothing goes to waste. While Americans throw away nearly 40% of the food they buy, an average of $1,500 annually, the Amish turn what most people discard into multiple meals that stretch the family budget further than any coupon ever could. The perpetual pot isn't just frugal, it's symbolic. Food is a gift from God, not a disposable commodity. Every scrap has potential. Every ingredient has value. Over time, the broth becomes rich, layered, and nourishing, a reflection of generations who lived through scarcity and learned that frugality is not deprivation, but resourcefulness. When you stop seeing scraps as garbage and start seeing them as ingredients, the economics of your kitchen shift forever. Bread as the daily cornerstone. To the Amish, bread isn't a side dish, it's a foundation. Twice a week, families gather the same master dough and shape it into whatever the week requires. Sandwich loaves, rolls, pizza crusts, pie crusts, dumplings, and dessert bases. One dough, multiple outcomes. Nothing is wasted. Stale bread becomes croutons, breadcrumbs, French toast, or bread pudding. Bread baking is timed with days when the cook stove is already fired, meaning no extra fuel cost. A single batch of dough costs roughly 60 cents per pound to produce, and the savings add up fast. A family that bakes 2 loaves a week saves $527.80 a year, sometimes over $1,100 when all the derivative foods are counted. But the true power of bread is psychological. When bread becomes the heart of a meal, meat stops being the main character. Bread with soup, bread with cheese, bread with preserves. Meals become satisfying, simple, and inexpensive. While the world rushes toward convenience foods, the Amish return to one thing: mastery. Bread isn't just food, it's a ritual that keeps the family grounded, connected, and fed. Multi-purpose ingredients. Walk into a typical American pantry, and you'll find multiple sugars, 8 different oils, boxed meal kits, flavored syrups, spice blends, and specialty items used once and forgotten. Conversely, Amish kitchens operate on what they call the 7 staples: flour, sugar, salt, lard, molasses, baking soda, and vinegar. Each ingredient performs multiple roles. Flour becomes bread, noodles, dumplings, thickener, or crusts. Vinegar seasons food, preserves vegetables, cleanses countertops, and even serves as medicine. Lard replaces shortening, oil, and butter in different recipes, cutting annual fat costs from over $200 to under $100. Amish cooking doesn't require endless variety. It requires skill. Spice racks aren't cluttered with blends. They use whole spices, pepper, cinnamon, cloves, nutmeg, and rely on preparation technique, not brand names, to create flavor. Their annual spice cost ranges $35 to $50, compared to the American average of $120 to $180. Minimal ingredients force creativity, not limitation. The secret isn't stocking more, it's mastering more with less. They create dozens of meals not by buying variety, but by knowing what to do with what they already have. Rendered fat cooking. Most people buy cooking oil without realizing how fragile and temporary it is. It expires quickly, becomes rancid, and must be purchased again and again. The Amish instead create a self-sustaining fat economy by rendering fat from every animal they butcher. Pork fat becomes lard for baking. Beef fat becomes tallow for frying. Chicken fat becomes schmaltz for flavor. Properly rendered and stored in a cool place, these fats last 6 to 12 months without refrigeration, saving $300 to $400 annually. But the financial benefit is only half the story. Rendered fats elevate the quality of food. Lard produces flaky pastries that modern shortenings can't replicate. Tallow makes roasted vegetables caramelize instead of steam. Schmaltz adds richness that no bottled canola oil will ever create. There is no waste. Cracklings flavor cornbread, tallow-soaked cloth becomes fire starters, and solids enrich gravies. Every drop has a purpose. Where the modern system encourages constant buying, the Amish cultivate self-reliance. Their cooking isn't driven by scarcity. It's driven by wisdom, discipline, and respect for the resources they already have. Creative repurposing, no leftovers. In Amish kitchens, There is no such thing as leftovers. There is only tomorrow's opportunity. Food is prepared with transformation in mind. A roasted chicken becomes casserole, then soup. Root vegetables from dinner become breakfast hash, then soup additions. Bread becomes toast, then croutons, then pudding. Nothing deteriorates, it evolves. The Amish don't scramble to figure out what to do with leftovers. They plan multiple lives for every dish. If the garden produces more tomatoes than needed, they don't freeze everything and hope for the best. They divide the abundance into sauces, fermented relishes, dried pieces, and canned preserves. Transformation reduces cooking time later in the week and ensures zero waste. The modern world has trained us to cook once and eat once. The Amish cook once and eat 3 different meals. Their system is not randomness. It is deliberate efficiency. Their kitchens are evidence of a mindset every household could benefit from. Resourcefulness isn't about having less. It's about making more out of what you already have. Communal labor exchange. Modern society isolates people in their kitchens, each household doing the same repetitive tasks alone. The Amish reject this inefficiency. Instead, they gather multiple families for work frolics, mass food preservation events, where everyone works together like a production line. When tomatoes ripen, 10 families process them at once, washing, trimming, packing jars, handling the canners. What would take one family 2 days takes a group a few hours. Productivity increases 60%. And costs drop dramatically. Instead of each family buying expensive equipment, they share industrial mixers, large canners, and butchering tools, saving $1,500 to $2,000 in equipment costs. Bulk purchasing lowers supply costs by 40 to 50%. But something more powerful happens. Skills are passed from older women to younger ones, not through classes, but through participation. Children watch, teenagers learn, adults teach. In a world that constantly screams, "Do it alone," the Amish quietly whisper, "Do it together." The result is not just preserved food, it's preserved wisdom. Whole animal use. Modern grocery stores condition us to believe that only 12 cuts of an animal are worth eating, leading to an industry where nearly 40% of each animal is discarded or repurposed into pet food. Amish families reject this waste entirely. When they butcher a hog or steer, often as a community, they use 90 to 95% of the animal. Bones become broth, organs become nutritious meals. Fat becomes lard or tallow. Even the pig's feet or chicken combs become pickled dishes or soup bases. This isn't desperation, it's respect. A whole hog purchased at $3.50 effectively drops to $1.85 once every usable part is accounted for. One animal can produce up to 200 meals at $1.20 to $1.50 per serving, a fraction of the $4.50 per serving grocery store norm. Fresh cuts are eaten immediately. Medium cuts are cured or smoked, and the rest are canned for later. Instead of planning meals around meat like a main character, meat becomes a supporting actor, used strategically, respectfully, and efficiently. When nothing is wasted, cost collapses. When everything has value, the animal becomes more than food, it becomes stewardship. The Amish don't save money on food because they're cheap. They save money because they're intentional. Every decision, from the garden to the root cellar, from the oven to the dinner table, is built on stewardship, discipline, and gratitude. They don't treat food as a disposable commodity. They treat it as a responsibility. And when you start living that way, even in small, simple daily habits, everything changes. Your grocery bill drops, your waste disappears. Your meals become richer, healthier, and more satisfying. If you learned something today, or if just one idea sparked a shift in how you see your own kitchen, tap the like button. It lets the algorithm know this content matters. Comment which Amish secret you're going to try first, and share this video with someone who wants to live smarter, not harder. And if you want more content about Amish wisdom, frugal living, and old-school self-sufficiency, make sure to subscribe, because the next video might just change the way you look at life, money, and food forever. Live simply. Live intentionally. And remember, abundance isn't about having more, it's about wasting less.